Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. We are sponsored by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where you can have conversations and buy items like the Beyond the Shell book series, the U cards, and the U journal to help you be yourself and to live your life. Now, I spotlight the U cards for the show to set an intention for this conversation. So there are three sections, or three different ways of the U cards how they work. It is I am, you are, and the quote card. And so my I am card for this conversation is I am full of grace. You are seen. It's always fun when I pull that card. And the quote card for this conversation is be you, the world will adjust. So I know that is the second time that's come up this week. So someone is trying to tell me to just be myself. So with that in mind, I will introduce you to the word of the day. And full disclosure, I will just put it out there for myself that the word is will. And even though my name is William, I've gone by Bill, I have a character in my book called Will, and I'm talking to Billy today. I had no idea, right? How that showed up, because it just didn't land for me that way. And so it's like one of those things where, you know how you're looking for something and you're not looking for something because you're looking where it's supposed to be instead of looking. And so if it's not where it's supposed to be, it doesn't exist. And so for me, I was just looking at my will and my will to do something and not the name. So this is really fun. And I just had to admit that. So because it is just crazy. So with that in mind, I will bring up my guests and we will have a conversation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing great. Now, this is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Oh, I didn't get a costume ready or anything. My name is Billy Michels. I'm a photographer, videographer, aerial photographer out of Baltimore, Maryland.
Wow. So great. So how does the word will show up for you?
Will is, well, first of all, I kind of chuckled when you had picked Will and I realized our names. So I think that has to be something important about this word. And it's also a word that I don't necessarily use as much, but I realize that I absolutely embody it. I mean, a quick story, which I'm not even sure I've told you about, or you could figure out on Facebook. But I had cancer last year.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, and it's all gone. And the more crazy synchronicity of this conversation today is that yesterday, July 15th, was exactly a year since my last cancer treatment. And I'm in complete remission. So It was kind of wild to have this.
Wow.
Yeah. To have this conversation about will. And when you talk about willpower, and it's funny, I actually knew a kid growing up whose name was William Powers. So
wow.
Willpower. I was like, that's pretty funny. Their parents had fun with that one.
I know, really.
Yeah. But I feel like that, on top of some other personal issues that I've gone through, that will really is kind of like a foundational word for me that is kind of like, I know. And when I looked up the definition of will, and there's 1,000 of them. Right. I mean, it's everything from what you're going to leave behind when you're dead to God's willing things to happen.
Right.
But my will, I think that I'd like to focus on in my life is more one of determination
Right.
and setting a goal and seeing it through, where it's so hard to do that. It
Right.
seems like today.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
many people set goals, and you and I were at Camp Good Life Project together, and man, that whole thing is about setting goals.
Right.
And then 3 months later, you ask a friend, so what did you do? Like, did you reach your goals? Like, no.
Nope. Right.
No, what goals? I went back to the same old shit.
Right.
But as far as getting something done or getting through something, I think that that's the will that I focus on.
Right.
I think some other people might think of like the will of the masses or the will of what's to happen. My will is like anti-resistance,
Right.
get it done, no matter how hard it is, no matter how easy it is, no matter how much crap you have to go through, it's pushing through that final,
Right.
keeping it going.
I definitely appreciate your story, and I didn't know that what you went through last year, and sometimes when I'm picking these words and within this conversation, to me it feels like this randomness, and it's kind of this crazy thing that I do, and to have these connections and be told of these connections to these words for the people that I'm speaking to, it just encourages me to just keep doing it that way. It's just because there is something beyond my knowing or understanding that I just want to celebrate within that.
Well, it's perfect because I didn't know how you picked these words.
Right.
And even when we chit-chatted before, you told me it was random. And, I see these other faces and I'm trying to figure out who those people are, because I know a couple of them that some of your guests. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, work or self or, hate or anger, like, are they angry people?
Right.
Is she an anger management coach? And when you picked will for me, I'm like, oh, well, he must know something about me, because it absolutely is one of my most gigantic definitions. And I actually never even knew that, because I never used the word will until now. Yeah.
It's, what came up for me, and to kind of connect our names, in this word, is that there's a part of will that's within us, that is like we embody will, right?
Right.
And it's a part of our journey, that the more that we show up as will, the more that we can, as you were saying, like, handle anything, go through any, just accomplish, just kind of do. It's not about the goal. And I've said this, I think I said this recently, because this is something how it's shown up in my life. I'm horrible at goal setting. I beat myself up and I say all kind of things that, oh, I'm so lazy, all this kind of stuff. I have this goal and I'm not doing it. But the one thing that really causes like change in my life is when I honor my commitment. When I say, this is what I'm committed to, and I like use that language, and I say, I'm committed to this, then it's like done, right? It's just like, it's no, I don't need any formulas and all that other kind of stuff. It's just done.
Yeah.
And it's just really, and I think it's a part of our will. I think it's a part of just like, what? That's the language that we need to stand up in that and just kind of go.
Well, it's amazing that it's in our names as well. Because I always joke whenever I met another Will, Billy, William, whatever, I said, oh, yeah, the Williams, we're going to take over the world someday.
Right.
It's like that we've been charged. We've got this name. We got to go with it. But, what you said about getting something done, it reminds me of this amazing organization. And of course, I was connected with them because I love their T-shirt. And all it says in huge letters is, because I said I would.
Right.
And that's it. Because I said I would. And it's about, I'm going to do this, and I did it because I said I would. Why did you do that? Because I said I was going to do it. Why did you climb a mountain? Because I said I was going to. What? And it's one of those things that it reminds you, like, I'm going to do it. And then absolutely one of the greatest feelings in my life is when you're done with one of those things. Right. You have, and you're right, not even set a goal, but an intention. Like, I'm going to do this because of this. Like, maybe I'm not going to win $1 million, but I'm going to do this, this, and this to get there. Right. And you do it. That feeling is It's amazing.
Right.
It's absolutely amazing.
Right.
You
And
know,
it's just
and
really
it's infectious. Sorry to,
right.
because you do that, and then other people start seeing that, like, wait, you did that? It's like, why did you do that? It's like, well, because I said I would. And
Right.
I had the will to see it through, and I have the will to keep going and to do it. And maybe other things have fallen apart, but I'm going to do this. And you do that, you feel awesome. Your energy expands. The people around you feel it, and then they start doing it, and then they start reflecting it back on you, and they might say, hey, look, I did this because I saw you did this. And that's like,
Right.
whoa, even
Yeah.
more reaffirmation that your will and that your determination, because I said I would, worked. And it's
Right.
absolutely in tune with the energy of whatever you want to call it, the world, your God, your universe, your spirit,
Right. No, it's kind of there are those moments when people say that to me. It's like, wow, Bill, it's like I've been watching you, and it's like you're like encouraging me to do this, and it's like, what caused you to do this? It's like because I said that's what I'm going to do, right? And it's like, all right, let's go, and it's like this rallying call. So I think the Williams are kind of taking over. It's interesting that the definition or the meaning of William is like, protector, right?
Oh,
It's like, and
I
there's
didn't
like
know that.
sometimes that shows up, for me, that I feel like I need to protect the environment. I need to protect my loved ones. There's a protection. But I think when on this self journey that I'm on, I I'm really learning to protect my ideas, my sanity, my health, all these things that I basically wasn't protecting myself. And it's kind of interesting that, wow, it just something else came up for me.
Mhm.
It's like my story of beyond the shell. Will is the character.
Mhm.
The shell, the first thing was finding you beyond what protects you is the name of the first book. And I created the shells in my life to protect myself from what other people were saying about me.
Right.
And
Wow.
so it was like really looking at that. Yes, we need to protect ourselves. We need to find safety and all that other kind of thing. But in order to really show up for other people, we have to go beyond that, beyond our protection, to really be available. I got from, a large part of the beginning part of my self-discovery was with a lot of Brene Brown. And
Mhm.
what I really got, from the beginning is like, when we protect ourselves from the bad, we keep ourselves from the good, too.
Yeah.
And so it is like, what am I willing to, I don't want to say sacrifice or put at risk, right?
Hmm.
To live the life that I want. And
Right.
it's like finding that will to go back at it again, to go forward, to kind of really put my ideas or put my love in jeopardy,
Yeah.
and it's like really, really interesting, really. I don't want to say fighting with my will, but just acknowledging that when I say that I'm going to do something, it's going to happen.
Right.
So it's like, uh-oh, so that's why in some cases, there's sometimes I don't say shit.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm not going to say anything, right? Because
Right.
if I say something, somewhere in my being says, okay, this is what we're doing. Right?
Right. Right. Well, you can't, you have to become, sorry, it's like 100,000 degrees here in Baltimore. You have to put yourself out there, and you have
Right.
to come out of that shell. You think about it as, I don't want to even say a turtle because their head is out of the shell, but like if you're in a tank,
Right.
okay, you're protected, but how much can you do outside of that? How
Right.
much are you learning about yourself? How much are you learning about what else is happening? What other experiences are you cutting yourself off from because you're not putting yourself out there?
Right.
And you have to, and that's hard. That, like, cracking that shell open, showing your insides
Right.
is, to me, that's an evolution of self that people have to go through. And our culture has to go through, because so much of what we do is based upon what we think others think of us or want of us or demand of us. That, that quintessential them, like, don't do it because they might talk, or they might do this, or it's like, who is they? There are no theys, because you go to someone else's house and they're sitting there thinking the same thing about they're acting because of them, and they're acting because of them. There's no them. It's Kaiser Sose. It's a made up character to keep everybody in their shells or in the line. You have to, you do have to have will to let yourself out. And I don't know if it's just having like balls or self-confidence or whatever, but that will to, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be different. I'm willing to understand that there's going to be some people in my life that are not going to understand this now, that they're going to either maybe give up on me, make fun of me, joke about me, or think I'm ridiculous or whatever. But you know what? If I die not having an experience because I was worried about what they might have thought about it, that's a shame.
Right.
That's
I totally get it. For me, how our society and our culture is showing up for me is that we've lost our will, or we're just not willing to do some things. There are some challenges that we talk around. If it's either race or if this pandemic or whatever thing, it's like we're talking around things, and so we can't. Are we willing to see the world differently? Are we willing to really love and respect everyone in our country? And what does that look like? If we don't know what that looks like, are we willing to mess it up, while we, like you were saying, play through the suck, right? It's like having those uncomfortable, messy conversations. I was trying to think of, I tried to do things in three, but I couldn't think of the third word. But but it is really, and to get to the other side, to get beyond the suck.
Yes.
And I think it's that willingness to kind of get beyond the resistance and the uncomfortableness of our life. And it's something, because we got a plan, I got a plan to end racism. I got a plan to do, and it's like, no, just end it. Right. Have the will to do it. Right?
Do it.
And it's done.
Yep.
And but that's will talking, right? Right. So it's like, people are like, so we need more wills, and that's what it is. We need more wills in government and public space, and that owns that. But it just really feels to me that the answers are right in front of us, but we don't have the will to kind of see them through.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I wore my shirt specifically for you today. My play through the suck. I actually learned this expression through our mutual friend Charles at Camp GLP.
Absolutely.
He had, and there's I could talk about this forever, but there was a talent show at the end of this, this event that we went to, and they get this band gets up there and they play, and it's older gentleman, a friend of ours, Charles, and I've always wanted to play guitar in a band and a talent show, or, on stage somewhere. And I was talking to him afterwards, and I said, man, that was really great. You sounded fantastic up there. And then I went into I gave him that little lead saying, hey, I've always wanted to play guitar, but I just, blah, blah. I got one when I was 12, and I didn't like the practice because it sounded like crap. And then I got one again at 20, and then I got one at whatever. And he just looked at me and he said, you know what, Billy, you need to play through the suck. And I'm like, play through the suck? What do you mean? He's like, you just have to sit there when it's uncomfortable and it's awkward and your fingers hurt and you sound like shit and everyone's complaining around you and you don't sound great. You can't go out into the beach and woo everybody with your guitar playing because you're sitting in your basement trying to get these notes down. He's like, but you just keep doing that. You just play through that sucky part. Right. And it starts, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that chord sounded okay. Oh, right. Whoa, that started to make a difference. Oh, whoa, look at this. I put two chords together. Oh, whoa, look at this. I'm actually playing a song.
Right.
And that expression, as simple as it was about learning guitar. And then he told me, he goes, I don't know, I'm making this. He said something like, I'm 60 years old. He goes, I just started playing 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I'm like, what? It sounded like you've been playing this whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so here I am thinking, well, I can't do that because they have already been doing it. They've already started. They were 12 years old when they kept playing guitar or whatever. Right. And then I realized, hey, this expression works for lots of things. Unfortunately, fortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, went through a divorce last year. And when I showed up for camp the year after I learned to play through the suck statement from him about playing guitar, I realized the second I saw his face, I go, oh, wow, I have to play through the suck again. But this is in my life, and then it's like, oh, you've got cancer. Guess what? You got to play through the suck again. Right. Oh, guess what? There's a global pandemic.
Right. You got to play through the suck.
Oh, guess what? You're out of a job right now. You got to play through the suck again. And it is. And that play through the suck is will. It's willing to get uncomfortable. It's willing to keep at it, even though you wake up banging your head against a wall. And that can be used from learning how to play the guitar and your fingers hurting to, systemic racism in the United States, which is an absolute god awful issue, that has to be taken care of. Right. So it's, again, trying to bring it back to will. Right. Here we are again.
I appreciate that. And the more that it's like the simple, it's, I have a category of simple and not easy, right? But I am embracing that if I start with simple, it ends with simple. It's just simple. I'm started, and so I am going to embrace, play through the suck and the will. So I don't just kind of let things get away from me. And it was, it's just how you were sharing all the areas that are the opportunities for us to grow and to improve and to have the life that we want to have. There's a sucky part about it, there's that sucky moment. Right. And I think most of the times, and I'll stay quickly on the race thing again, is the reason why in my opinion, the race issue is where it is. And, and we're starting another conversation, or we're continuing a conversation, I believe, is that we start a conversation about race, it starts to suck, and we walk away, right? We walk away, or we put something out, we put a Band-Aid on it, or we kind of, pat people and say, I'm sorry, and just kind of act like that, but we never get through the suck. Right. And people are left with, it doesn't suck for you because you're not having this conversation anymore, but it sucks for me because I still feel like, that you don't that I don't matter to you. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now it's coming back around that, okay, it sucks for me and it sucks for you. Right. So, okay, let's have a conversation. So I want to see for myself how long this sucky conversation about race is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And, and it's not going to be just having murals all over the place, right? Right. Or people marching in the streets. It's going to be through a conversation and people playing through the suck so we can get on the other side of it. Yeah. And I think that I just read a book. I'm finishing a book on letting go. And it was talking about the suffering that we have is because we hold on. We're holding on to things that we think are great, wonderful, whatever, and even some of the things that are bad because it's familiar. We're just holding on, and we're like suffering in our suffering, right? Type of thing. And it's like the more that we're able to let things go, some things are the way I'm thinking about it or understand it. Because that's what disconnect to connect is all about, is disconnect from a way that you're thinking that gives you opportunity to another way to connect. And if I am so, getting back to, because I'm one of those people that, I have a guitar that I want to play, that I just look at and go, one of these days I'm going to take that out of its case and and make some horrible noise before I make some good noises, but not today, right?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And that's a choice that I'm making. And I'm like, until I say I'm going to learn how to play the guitar, it's going to sit in the case.
Yeah.
And I got that for myself.
Yeah. And you talk about, letting go. That's that is one of my biggest life lessons over the last few years, with my health, with my relationship, with my job, because I was a fourth grade teacher for 15 years until I decided to let go of that and try something new, which is where my heart is.
Right.
I would never know if I didn't let go of those things.
Right.
Or letting go of, when we go back to the race thing, like letting go to like, everything's okay right now. Like, stop, like, don't change anything. I'm okay. Like, my life's fine, but it's not. And like, oh, when are these protests going to end? When are they going to stop painting my street? It's like, no, like that, what you said, like, we have to let go in order to evolve. It's that whole, like, you have to break eggs to make an omelet.
Right.
You can't keep those eggs forever. You can't keep them forever, but if you want to make something nice and delicious out of it, you got to break them.
Right.
When you see, there was a great, I don't know if I could bring it up fast enough, but there was a great quote about a seed, and the quote was something about, if you look at a seed growing, it looks like destruction and something falling apart and, coming to pieces. Right. But that's what happened. But if you don't understand what growth is, right, you don't understand what's happening there. Like, that destruction and that ugliness of the seed actually expand. I mean, we used to germinate seeds in fourth grade. So you'd see the seed and the shell would get all wrinkly. It's this beautiful little seed at first, like a lima bean shell or something. And then it gets wrinkly, and then it starts popping open, and then the insides come out, and then there's this weird little leaf thing in the middle of it. And then the things fall apart and they turn brown and they rot and they stink. But then all of a sudden this, up comes this unbelievable leaf, stem. It's like, you have to, that to me is letting go, that destruction or burning it down to, burning out a forest, but then all these great things grow. Like, some things have to change. And, going with the Black Lives Matter movement, I don't necessarily mean we got to burn down, literally.
Right. Absolutely. I get it. No, I totally get it.
But I think, as you said, it's our systems. And in our systems, we have to have people who are uncomfortable making change. We have to have leaders and politicians willing to be uncomfortable, willing to maybe sacrifice what they think are safe votes to make the change, to do something different. And even on our daily lives, we have to maybe be uncomfortable and do something different, because it's that kind of letting go. I call him my Buddha. He's my therapist. But he's centered in Buddhism, so that's why I call him. I actually haven't asked him if he actually likes that or not, because he's kind of a serious guy, but he probably doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit anything, because that's what he says. Buddhists don't really care about anything. They realize that, when I was talking about, like, oh, I need to hold on to, like, I need this, or I need to be grounded. I need to know what my job is. I need to know where the money's coming from. I don't know what's happening with my relationship. I don't know what's happening with my health. I need to build this house, this foundation, and grow from that. And he said, you know what? The only constant is that nothing is constant. Right. That everything changes. Everything is changing all the time. And you can't hold on to that, whatever it was before. You have to let it go. You have to break the thing. You have to let it, because if you can't live in groundlessness, then you're going to always be suffering somehow. Right. You have to be able to let go. You have to be able to change. You have to be able to see, well, that was great, but now something else is coming. And you know what? That was okay, but you know what? I don't know what's next. And getting out of that old habit of trying to stake your claim right here. This is who I am. This is what my relationship is. This is what my life is. Because you never know. Because it's like, you know what? I thought that's like, all right, well, I'm going to start this new job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Well, the job has hit the wall because of a pandemic hit. The relationship is wonderfully amicable, but not there. So it's like, okay, didn't see this one coming. So you know what? But I'm okay, because I went through that last year with the cancer thing, being like, well, I didn't expect this. I'm the healthiest eater I know. I've been organic and local and non-GMO and everything for years. I work out all the time, and yet I'm the one that gets this disease for some random reason. It has nothing to do with my family or where I live or what I eat. It's like, all right, well, that means what do I learn from that? Well, you never know. So you better start doing what you want now. You better start living the way you want to now. You better start making the changes that you want now, because you really don't know. And as cheesy and kitschy as those expressions are, like live today like it's your last, or live today. When you're faced with death, you better do it. And when you realize that nothing is stable, nothing, our economy, our health system, like nothing is stable, you better start, coming from your heart real fast.
Right. No, I definitely appreciate it. And it's a part of my coaching in the conversations that I have of, be yourself and live your life, and, with emphasis on your, right. And it's like, really, for me, one of the questions that I ask myself is I'm willing to live in the flow of my life. Mm-hmm. There is, it's like we were talking about with the seed. There's a lot of things that have to happen for that seed to get in the ground and to kind of like do all the, the wrinkles, the dying, the splitting, and all that other kind of stuff. And that's just happening. But for me, I guess for individuals, it first starts with, am I going to let my life just flow? Am I going to have an awareness of, this is what feels good to me. This is where my soul is leading me. This is where the conversations that are showing up in my life. This sucks right now, but I know that there's something beyond this, and just be willing to do that. And it is sometimes, because I adopted, I can't remember his name. I mentioned it enough that I should remember the guy, but it was saying, the quote is, if you can see your path ahead of you, it's not your path, right? Your path is what you're creating. Right. It is like making it, and it's like, the more that I am willing to be in my life and, be carving out my path and hitting a rock here, stepping on some poison ivy or something, and it's like, what the hell, getting stung by a bee, or it's like, all the things that show up in our life on our journey that we just deal with, but still be willing to stay on that journey and our journey with others, right? Our journey with others, and just be willing to share that and recognize and be that. Then, no matter when this journey ends, right, with not getting too dark or anything like that,
it's going to end.
I can be right. It's going to end, right? Right. I can know, at least in myself, that I was living.
Yes.
And I mentioned with I think a couple GL peers, Good Life Project people that have been on. For the people who don't know that term, that's what we call ourselves. But I came to that community when I didn't understand my life. There was a lot of crazy things happening for me in my marriage and my business. I had a failing business at the time. And, I say my marriage was on hospice. It wasn't on life support. It was on hospice. There are people saying it's dead. We can't do anything else. But I was willing to bring it back to life. I was willing to work it. And so we're still together and all that other kind of stuff. But during that time, I felt I didn't even have a life. So really embracing having a good life was hard for me. I was like, you know what? Before I can embrace the good life, I got to embrace a life.
A life.
So what is my life? Right. What is the life that I'm going to live in? What am I willing to really stand in and like be in the mess of, right? Mm-hmm. And because I got connected to that community, I was in I saw so many people like yourself and others that were going through their life and figuring out their life, but they were so much in support of me in my life and what I was doing. And I can be, and just this level of support and love for, hey, I don't know what's going on in my life, but it's cool what's going on in your life. And let's get, it's like if we need to talk or we need to, hug or giggle or whatever, that needs to happen, whatever moment or cry, that's what we're here for. And that's has created a good life for me.
Yes.
And so, but it had to start with, am I willing to like just be in my life or to cause my life that way?
Right. Like learning from others and seeing someone else's path, to me, is very educational, but it's not necessarily, and something you can mimic for a while.
Right.
You do have to beat that resistance. I know that's a big word. What's Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, great book about how resistance is that little nagging thing that says, nah, you can do it later. Right. Nah, how about a nap now? That's too hard. Nah, you don't want to. Nah, it's just always trying to bring you down.
Right.
So to have that will to beat the resistance,
right,
and have the will to notice that maybe you are learning from someone or following someone else's path, but that you have to find your own.
Right.
And there's wonderful things to learn from others. And if we want to get back to metaphors, I was asked by my cousin, turned 50 a couple years ago, and he wanted me to come out and climb Mount Hood with him. Right. I'd never climbed a mountain before. And that alone can be like a 45-minute segment on the lessons I learned from that. But one big one I got from that has to do with what we're talking about now is we went on a training session a couple days before we actually went to the summit. And I was having a hard time keeping up with him. He was, he's older than me. He's flying up ahead. He even had a little dog with him that was, kicking my ass. I'm sitting there I'm trying to take these huge, because I've been working out. I've been hiking. I've been doing these training programs. I've been Stairmaster all day long. And I'm taking these huge steps and I'm trying to keep up with them. And I'm exhausted and I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to do this.
Right.
And I looked down at the ground and there was snow, obviously, the snow-capped glacier. And I see his footprints. And literally they were just like one, like this, and I'm sitting there doing this, these huge, big steps. Right. And so I just thought, all right, well, for shits and giggles, I'm going to actually put my feet into his feet. Wow. Literally, this is, and just walk and see what happens. And meanwhile, it's awkward for me because I'm taking these tiny little steps. Right. And I see this huge mountain ahead of me that I want to get to the top of. But I'm taking these tiny little steps. I'm like, I am never going to get there. But by the time I caught up to him, I was laughing at myself. And I said, there's got to be something to this. I go, you tell me why you take these tiny little steps. And then I'm going to tell you what I just learned here. He said, well, you use less energy. He's like, look at your legs when you take these tiny steps. They're almost like big toothpicks doing this. Right. But when you're taking these giant steps, you think about all the different muscles in your legs that you're engaging to get up there, just trying to stomp up to the top.
Wow.
I said, absolutely. I go, well, that's what I got out of it. Part of it was that I'm using less energy, but if you take small steps over and over and over again, you'll get there.
Right. And
what was the last one I got out of that? Just not looking too far ahead. I'd look up at this giant mountain and I'm walking up staring at it and I'm getting discouraged because it's never changing. I mean, when you walk up to something that big from that far away, it just doesn't seem to change. But you put your head down and taking these tiny little steps over and 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 over. 20 minutes, half hour later, I look up, I'm like, whoa, things look a little different. Things have changed a little bit. I've played through some of the suck. I have learned how to take small steps. I have learned from him what I need to do. And I'm closer to my goal.
Right.
So it's like, whoa, all this was coming to me, and I used all those same strategies last year when I got through cancer. I'm not looking ahead. I'm not saying, oh my God, I have to do this chemo for 6 months.
Right.
Like I'm never going to make it. It's like, you know what? Just do one. And just get through that week and then get through that week and just do another one, get through that week. And then all of a sudden I look up, I'm like, oh, I only have 10 to go. Then I look, I go down. just little steps, because when we try to chunk too much off at a time, or if I tried to follow him the whole way, I would have been exhausted too. So once I got his stride down, I could say, all right, well, now I can make my own path to get up there, but I'm going to learn from him and move from him. It's again, it's the will to get through that, and the will to learn, the will to try something new.
Right.
And you'll get there.
Wow.
You'll get
there. Oh, that is great. I got some so much from that, and I really appreciate it, because I see that, because there's a lot of things, I call myself, an ideal man, right? I get ideas come to me like every second. I feel like I got to do them all, and they all going to be wonderful, and all these $1 million ideas, right? And I can see, the $1 million or all of this, raving fans and all this other kind of stuff, but those little steps, right? They like kill me, because it's like, I can see all this, and it's like, why am I not? And it's just like, and then they just fall to the wayside, or now,
they suck. They suck,
right? And they suck. It's kind of funny. I didn't mention this because I haven't been posting early on social media because I used to do before, but I haven't been recently, because it's just my mornings have changed a little. But sometimes I wake up with a song in my head, and it kind of lets me know what's going on. And Michael Franti is it's got me through a lot, and I still look to him for like encouragement and just kind of jamming out every once in a while. But he has a new song, a new album out, and it's on Spotify and everything like that. I don't know the name of it, but the song that I just heard a couple days ago, like once or twice, was playing in my head, and it is called "Start Small, Think Big." And that was going through my head this morning. And when you're talking, it was like, crap, that's why. It's encouraging me to have those small steps, but still continue to think big, still get to the mountaintop, still make your $1 million, still all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But start small, stay small, and you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And it's like having that will to stay that, because for me, I felt any part of small was not big. But you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was like feeling that, because I was saying that I am balancing the smallness and the bigness of my life, and how every time I would think about what I believe my life was calling me to be, and talking to a lot of people and all that kind of stuff, I would go, no, I'm just, this little guy and all this other kind of stuff. I can't make an influence and all that other kind of stuff. And so, well, I'm just going to do this. So it's big, but it's not that big, and it's all that other kind of stuff. And I felt like I was limiting
absolutely
myself. And it's like, the will in me was like, dude, just live your, just do it. We're going to do it. Right. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting. And I, like I said, I really appreciate and got it, that it's those small steps, and having mentors and having people show us the way, and then give us the tools for us to make our own way. Right.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's like, because you could have easily just stayed in his steps the whole way, to him, right? But you got the lesson, and it's like, okay, how is Billy going to, do this? And now, okay, we're cooking with grease, right? Right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's how it goes, right?
Well, it's still, as you said, it's not that we're not limiting ourselves by saying, oh, we're just going to do small projects. There's a difference, I think, between like aiming small and working small, because, as you said, it's like, I could well, maybe I'm not that great a photographer. I'm just going to do some family portraits and some neighborhood stuff because I'm not as good as those other guys. I don't have all the blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, 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 no. Aim for that.
Right.
Aim for the big time. But maybe today I'm going to refine this, or maybe tomorrow I'm going to refine that. And then the next day I'm going to spend some time cleaning my office because you know what? I need that mental space. And next time, you know, all these little things are going to add up. You know, what is it? Confucius has that one, you know, in order for a man to move a mountain, he has to move small stones, you know, first or something, or to moving, I don't know, something about small stones and moving a mountain.
Right, right.
You can't
It's
do
all
it
in there, right?
Yeah, you can't do it at once.
Right.
You know, I couldn't make it up the mountain in the short amount of time that I wanted to. Same with playing the guitar. I cannot get up on stage and rock out with my brother like I want to,
right,
because I haven't taken those steps yet. I tried to. I'm like, yes, I got the guitar, and you got to play through the suck. You got to have the will. You got to take those small steps and realize that as frustrating as those small steps get, ignore the resistance that's saying you're not fucking anywhere yet. Like, look at you. What are you doing that little thing for? You should be here already. You should be there. So guess what? You're not. So just get depressed. Go hit the rum and sleep on the couch for a while. You know, it's like, no, you got to just, you know, no, I know these small steps are adding up. I know they're 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 adding up.
Right.
You know?
Wow. No, that's great. You know, I think we can talk about this for hours, but
absolutely,
you know, because the will in my head, it's like, yeah, we got more. Let's go. Let's kind of keep. And it's like, no, we got.
Well,
you know,
I knew this. I knew the second I saw my word that I was like, oh no, we need more than 45 minutes.
Right. So it's gonna go there. I mean, is there any last thing that you want to leave with everything? I mean, this is definitely one of those, you know, rebroadcasts where you kind of, you know, write some notes, get some principles, and just kind of, you know, go forward.
Yeah.
You know, go after some things. Is there anything that you want to leave everyone with?
I don't know. I think I've tried to culminate all my life lessons into one 45-minute package, and you know, I think they're all there. If not, it's basically, you know, live your life, be happy, be kind to others, you know, and today's today. Like do something today. Doesn't matter what it is, just do something today, and then do something else tomorrow, and do something you have to do, you know, just have to keep on keeping on. Yeah, because you don't know. We don't know. We have all, the world has been slapped in the face with a lesson from the universe that says you don't know, you can't count on anything. So you know what? Make it happen now.
Right.
You know? Make your happiness happen now, no matter how little or how big it is. Like, you have to, because tomorrow is absolutely not guaranteed, and now we all know it.
Right. No, I totally get it. I've been questioning and wondering what the urgency that I feel in like showing up in my life. And I think you just pointed to it. It's like the slap on the face, dude, live your life. You know, it's like, that's it. Yeah. It's like, but no, live your life. You know, it's like,
and don't get down on yourself. You know what? If, you know, these times I saw the great meme that said the Corona coaster. You know, there's one day you're out there baking your sourdough and you're building, you know, new things, and you're creating, and your house is beautiful. And then the next day you're having gin with breakfast. It's like, you know what? We're all a little fucked up right now. And guess what? Don't get down on yourself that you had gin for breakfast yesterday. Today is another day.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
So what? You know, tomorrow you might collapse. Tonight you might collapse. Say, forget it, I'm out. But then tomorrow, wake up and say, you know what? Now I'm going to do something. It's going to happen now. Like, let it happen. Let that bad shit happen. Let it go through, and don't beat yourself up for it, because what's going to happen in the end? You know, that was it. That's the Jack Kerouac quote that I had when I summited Mount Hood. It said, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to remember all the time you spent in the office or mowing your lawn. Go climb that fucking mountain.
Right. There it is. Well, with that in mind, I would like to thank you for this conversation. This has definitely been great. We'll say our goodbyes in the green room, but this has been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Will.
Thanks, my sir.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow. I think there's amazing things happen when two Wills get together, right? And Billy's and Williams and all that. So it's really, really something. And the question that just came up for myself is, will you live your life? Just ask yourself that question. Will you live your life? I would love to hear some of your comments and see how will is landing for you, and if you can answer that question for yourself, because there are some days that breakfast is a full course meal, and sometimes it's gin for breakfast, right? And just be okay with that. Um, I hope this conversation has brought value to you, and I invite you to reach out to me on iamwilliambrown.com and sign up for one of my free complimentary coaching sessions. And so we'll just see how you're showing up and how you're not showing up. But everything's possible within the conversation, because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of your day.